Hi, my name is Heather, and today I'm going to show you 5 different examples of page layouts that you can use for your children's book. My first example is from this book, Tails Chasing Tails by Matthew Porter, and this is one of my favorite children's books because I just think it's so creative. So the neat thing about this book is that the picture actually continues onto the next page. We have a tiger here, the back of the tiger, and you flip it and it continues, and then this is the front of the tiger. And I just think it is the coolest thing ever, and I never would have thought of something like that. I think it would be really neat to have more books like this. Obviously not the same thing, but kind of inspired by it would be really cool. My next example of a layout idea is from Charlie and the Mouse, and this is by Laurel Snyder and illustrated by Emily Hughes. In this book, we have a lot of pages with a full page image on one side, and then on the other side is blank with text, but the neat thing is that there's a item of some sort, like from the page before it, or an item that's kind of referencing what's coming up. So that is in this book a lot, and I just think it's really cool to have that little extra thing. Here's another example where the main image is on this page, but then we have this little illustration here. Also, one thing to remember with these examples that I'm giving is that, with the exception of Tails Chasing Tails, these layouts aren't used in the entire book. They're usually used in a portion of the book, and that is important to kind of mix it up so that you don't have the same thing all the time. So like this has the full page but kind of blob-ish, which we're going to talk about later, on the right side, and this has like these little small ones here. So it is important to scatter things about the book so that you kind of keep it changing and it's not just like the same thing over and over again. And then another example of this is Looking for Smile by Ellen Tarlow and illustrated by Lauren Stringer. This one has the full page image here, and then on the right is like a smaller image, and the whole point of the book is that it's looking for smile. So like it'll have the image here and then it has the smile here, so it's like the animal smiling. So it's similar to the image on the right, but it's a little bit different. Again, the whole book isn't like that, but it's a really neat element. So like we have the full page here, and then we have the small one here with where he's smiling. On this one, we have a full page image, and then we have smaller images on the right. So it's kind of similar to the other ones, except that we have 3 on the right instead of just 1. So this is also a really nice example. My third example of a type of page layout is in Dog and Rabbit by Barney Salzberg, and he's the author and the illustrator. This example is blobby illustrations, where it's not a perfect square or circle or anything, but it's kind of like a blob, and there are some that are even more blobby than others. So as you can see, this one is a circle, but it's not even a perfect circle. It has some blobbiness to it. And here's another couple of good blobs here. My next example of a layout option is on this book, which is Bunny Slopes by Claudia Ruda. So in this book, there are quite a few pages where we have the text on one side and then the image on the other. And here we have text on one side, image on the other. And this is a good idea if you want to just kind of keep your illustrations very simple, and then the page on the left is also very simple with just the text. It's also a good way to kind of bring up your page count if you're having a hard time with that. So here's some more pages like that. And then there are some pages where we have a whole 2-page spread, but you know, again, you don't want to have that style in every single page of the book unless you're the author and illustrator of Tails Chasing Tails. So that's an example of that style. And I have another example too, which is Here Comes Teacher Cat. This one also has quite a few of those. Here is an example of the text on one side and the image on the other. So we have quite a few of these, and it's really nice. It does make the illustration just kind of stand out on its own, and it's really good for nice, simple designs. So we have a lot of these in this book. My next example of a page layout is having no background on the image. So Teacher Cat is also a good example of this style. In this book, the image is here and then there's just no background. So basically like no sky, if there were to be a sky. There's a little bit of illustration on the bottom under his feet just to kind of show that he's grounded. But other than that, there's no background. And with this, you can either put the text on the page or you can put it on a separate page. But it's just kind of a different way that you can do the layout as opposed to having like a box around it or a blob. You can also just have no background. My other example of that one is Mouse and Hippo. For this one, the text is actually on the pages with the illustration, but as you can see, there's no background. And that does make it nice and clean and easy to read the text, so that's kind of nice. Also notice that they use 2 different fonts for this one, which I wouldn't normally recommend, but it totally works for this because one of the fonts is used for what the mouse is saying and the other font is used for what the hippo is saying. So it really works. Here's where they took the text and they really made it work with the image. So they kind of made sure to have some empty spots where the text could go. And I think that's important when you want to mix the text in with the image. It's really hard if you create all the illustrations beforehand and you don't plan for the text, and then later on you're going to have to kind of simplify it in certain spots, take elements out, because like if there were, you know, plants here, then the text wouldn't work right there. So that's why it's really important to think about where the text is going to go when you're illustrating. So that's it. Those are my 5 examples for page layout for children's books. Do you have any examples that I didn't go over that you really like? If so, let me know in the comments what I missed. I think it would be neat to also do a video on like illustration styles for children's books, so if that's something that you would like to see, let me know. Also, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you liked it. And thanks so much for watching. Bye!